Welcome back to English 101. Good to have you here again. Thanks for watching my video. I really enjoyed getting to know you last week during the discussion board assignment. Students put forward lots of really great insights about how considerations of purpose and audience shape the writing of any kind of writing you do, whether that's a text message, a college paper, or an email. These things that we talked about on that discussion board are called rhetorical considerations, and they're very important things for writers to think about if they want their writing to be successful. And you will see over the course of this semester, you will have 4 different major papers you will write for me. They will be for different audiences. No, they will not be for just me. We will talk about what an academic audience is versus a popular audience. You will need different writing styles to deploy for each. Each paper will have a different purpose. I believe, as I mentioned last week, I do not believe in 5-paragraph essays. I don't believe in rigid models like that because real world writing doesn't work that way. Not the writing that I've done anyway. Anyhow, let's take a look at the contents for this week, and then I want to talk to you a bit about rhetoric. So I won't do this every week, but since, it's only the second week, it's a reminder, right? So like the homepage is different now. It's a new week. We've got a fun picture of Steve doing something naughty, which he does indeed like to do, and a list of the office hours, which I'm going to try to stick to those times, right? Because that's what's in the syllabus, but there will be times where I will need to change them. And so if you ever want to stop by virtual office hours so we can talk about the assignment or any other questions you have, you just go to the homepage and you'll see when I'm going to be on there, and you just click this link and it will let you join. Even if you've never done Google Meet before, you've used Gmail on your computer, you're ready to go. So that's kind of nice, and I do enjoy seeing students there. Anyhow, so that's what the homepage will look like every week. You'll be able to find those office hours and the great picture of Steve, and then you'll see this link that says, okay, go ahead and start getting into the work you have to do this week. Um, of course, this might look a little different if you look at it on a phone, but you do still have that module view where you can see the whole thing. It's really important to me that you understand how to do this and that you click through these assignments in order. I think I mentioned this already last week, but I'll say it just one more time. Do not just complete the activities that are worth points. You're not going to know what I'm looking for in the paper, how I want you to write the papers if you don't review all these contents, right? So some of these are readings from the free online textbook. Some of them are videos like this one. Here's another video. Sometimes there will be a quiz just to make sure that we're all on the same page, make sure you've taken away the right things from the readings that you've done. And often, but not always, there will be a discussion board assignment as well, as there is this week. So anyhow, and again, you'll just scroll through this stuff just like you did last week. If you're looking at every page and hitting next, you should be fine. So let's go ahead and start talking about rhetoric. Oh, that said, though, before we get into that, if you ever have a problem navigating Canvas, if you can't get the links to work, please let me know. You never know. It might be due to an oversight on my part. There might be a broken link in there. So please let me know so that I can assist. You can message me over here at the Canvas inbox or stop by office hours like we just talked about. All right, so last week we talked about rhetorical considerations. This week we're going to talk about rhetoric. I'm just going to go through the first half of this video, and then I'll give you some readings and you can look at the second half. But of course you can do the readings whenever you want. I just like to sort of break them up so that you don't feel overwhelmed. So what is rhetoric? Rhetoric is how we get things done in democracies. Rhetoric is how people who feel strongly about a change that needs to be made can convince others that change should be made, right? And so this is why I like to have this image that references the civil rights movement in the 60s and Martin Luther King Jr. Right? When you think about the work that they did, it was nonviolent. It was composed of sit-ins and think about what was the March on Washington? It led to a speech, right? The I Have a Dream speech that, of course, most hopefully all students are familiar with, right? And that was the speech that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave at the March on Washington. And that was an important piece of rhetoric. It's oral rhetoric. It was a speech that was designed to change the way people saw the problems that were facing the country and to hopefully inspire them to take action to help him and the other leaders make changes that needed to happen. And obviously, it led to great progress, right? So let's talk a bit more about what rhetoric is. So here's a definition, if you like such things. Rhetoric is a text that a creator uses to persuade an audience, a specific audience. It's usually a target audience that you've thought about. You always want to think about who you're reaching when you create rhetoric. And certainly in the I Have a Dream speech, not to digress too much, but one of the things that's so impressive about it is that there are parts of it that are designed to appeal to people that were already part of the movement, and there are parts of it that are designed to appeal to people who had less knowledge of it. That's one of the things that made it so powerful is it worked with different audiences. Anyhow, so rhetoric is a text that a creator uses to persuade someone or a group of people about something. Keep in mind, in English class, rhetorical texts are not just books, they are not textbooks, right? A text is anything that is spoken, written, or multimodal. It's basically anything that uses language, right? So I just mentioned that the I Have a Dream speech is an example of oral rhetoric. If you read an opinionated article in the newspaper called an op-ed, that's a form of written rhetoric. You will be reading some op-eds for me as part of, or you'll choose one op-ed to read and analyze for your first major paper. We'll talk about that later. Anyhow, multimodal rhetoric is rhetoric that uses both words and images. Think advertisements. Every time you see an ad on television, that is a form of rhetoric. It is designed to persuade a target audience, a specific group, that they need to purchase a specific product, right? So when you really start to think about it, there's rhetoric is all over the place, right? People telling you what you need to buy, people telling you how to feel about certain topics, especially when there's political campaigns going on. You will often see political ads designed to try to convince you to see a candidate a certain way. Now, it's important to think about why authors create these things. Now, with the ads, obviously they want to sell you stuff, right? The problem is that you haven't bought the thing yet. They have to convince you that you need it, right? But when we think about things like op-eds, right, written rhetoric in the newspaper or MLK's I Have a Dream speech, they're communicating with the audience about a problem, right? They're trying to get the audience to see things the way they do so that they will potentially take some action to change it. Rhetoric is always related to change, right? The person who creates the rhetoric sees an opportunity to address some kind of problem, and they use their words to try to convince people to see things the way they do so that they'll potentially take action. Okay, and so here's the thing. The first major paper of the semester is called a rhetorical analysis paper. This is not an uncommon assignment in an English 101 class. Now, the interesting thing, though, is we can't talk about rhetoric in a vacuum, right? We have to choose a specific problem and look at some rhetoric that was created as a response to it, and then we can have you analyze that, right? And so, as it says here, for the first major writing assignment, you're going to you're going to choose one of 3 different opinionated articles to analyze, right? And these articles were all created as a response to the epidemic of CTE in the NFL, right? And it's okay if you don't know about CTE in the NFL. It's okay if you've never watched a day of football in your life, because I've got some additional articles about that problem, right? Because you can't have rhetoric without a problem. It's called a rhetorical exigence, right? And this is the thing that motivates the people who create the rhetoric to create that text and get it out there to try to solve this problem. So one of the reasons rhetorical analysis is a popular assignment in English 101 classes is that it's a way to evaluate arguments in an academic fashion, right? It doesn't matter whether you agree or not. That's not the point. The point is understanding how the argument works. And if you can do that, you can think about people's arguments more critically, And when you are called on to make your own argument about a topic, which you will be in the second paper for this class, you will find that easier to do if you've had some time thinking and writing about how arguments work. And I've seen that with my own anecdotal experience. Before I had a rhetorical analysis assignment, many years ago, and I would have students just jump right into opinionated writing, and they really struggled with it. The rhetorical analysis assignment is a way for you to kind of understand how persuasive writing works by looking at published professionals that are doing it and analyzing how they create those arguments. We've made it through the first half. All right, so again, hopefully this has helped you understand what we mean by rhetoric. It might help you make more sense of the readings about rhetoric this week. Remember, you can always kind of jump around and look at those and the videos in whatever order that makes sense to you. But as long as you're looking at everything at some point, that's the most important thing. So before you watch the next video, why don't you go ahead and try to delve into some of the readings about the rhetorical appeals that follow this video. If you have any questions, as always, message me in Canvas, stop by office hours, let me know, right? It is perfectly okay to have questions, and that's what I'm here for. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.